Yes, now, and welcome back to episode 60 of the Top Loaded podcast. If we looked a bit drained, it was London Car Show weekend. Even though I did pull out of the second day, I've come down with something, catching something off someone somewhere at the car show. That's my excuse. Or it's just a hay fever, so it's probably just that. But, Harry, it's been a busy weekend for yourself, being there from Friday to Sunday. So you had a mini vacation. So, how are you feeling?
Knackered, mate. I can't lie to you. Yeah, got down there early doors on a Friday, and then got back at around about 6:30 tonight, I think it was. So, yeah, it's been a very long weekend, but no, a really, really good weekend, really strong. Really enjoyed myself, but yeah, just said a little mini breakaway in some sense.
Yeah, I love you. You always have to put some sort of pun in there with cards. So it was a breakaway, and it was your choice. But for any more puns,
I didn't even clock that either.
if there's any other puns, I do apologise. In that kind of mood tonight. But before we do have a little review and recap of the London Card Show, me and Harry would love to say to every single person who's listening along to this a massive thank you from both of us for reaching 10,000 listens across all platforms, which is a massive achievement. Which, to be honest, I never thought I'd ever have 10,000 different people wanting to listen to my bloody voice at some point. But it's been a brilliant journey. We're obviously now on episode 60, just going over a year or so now. So it's been a fantastic journey. Now having to reschedule the next target goal. So it was 5K. Well, it was 1,000, then it was 5,000, now it's 10,000. So I think the next one is going to be 20 or 25,000. But Harry, what a lovely feeling to actually reach the 10,000 landmark.
Yeah, it's like speechless. I mean, I can't obviously thank everyone enough for the ones that are tuning in every week to listen to the podcast. It really does go a long way, and we are forever grateful to hit 10K views. And it's something that, when I first joined, never thought it'd be this close and this sort of short space of time until we hit that. So yeah, a massive thank you to everyone. And yeah, it really does mean a lot to me and yourself, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's not just obviously the listeners as well. So I thank everyone who's helped support along the way, who's joined us on any episodes, or even just talked about the podcast with them. It's everyone in the hobby. We've just been trying to help out as well. So, like we say, we're not changing the true aspect of why the podcast was ever set up, was just to try and bring the UK scene a bit together and grow as a unit. And hopefully we can do that together. So we do look forward to the upcoming years in the scene and hopefully watching it do expand like we have seen over the last 60 episodes. So hopefully, if the growth does go on, the next 60 episodes will be great, but also the hobby will grow with it. But talking about hobby growth, and obviously it was the London Card Show, obviously this weekend, which was the 22nd, 23rd of April, obviously always a busy day or days at the shows, obviously with the Saturday trade night and Sunday. So your initial thoughts just for the overall experience. Obviously, there has been some negativity and some positivity in the card world, but our honest, as we say, we always keep it our honest opinions here. So, what did you find of the overall weekends of? If we talk about the actual show to begin with, not obviously the card aspect, because the cards is uncontrollable from the organisers, but how did you find like the Saturday trade night Sunday? Because all three are very different aspects of the show.
Yeah, busy again. It was very busy again on the Saturday. A little bit quieter today. Obviously, with it being recorded on the Sunday, quieter today. And trade night was actually really good in my opinion. It was unfortunately sort of the same again, where people were just sort of walking in, sitting down, laying out cards, and sitting there. So to that aspect, it was a little bit like we needed a bit more movement. It was sort of a lot of people just sort of set up and just sat there, as opposed to potentially walking around and looking at trades. But nonetheless, I thought trade night was really good. Good to I know we obviously me and you both picked up a couple of cards at trade night. But yeah, the Saturday as a whole, I thought was really enjoyable. It was great to talk to the guys we've met before and to catch up with a lot of the guys that we speak to quite regularly. Getting very busy, very busy. It was quite a lot of people. I think it's 1,500 people were there on the Saturday. So, as I said, there was a little bit of negativity from the weekend coming out already. But I think in my opinion, it's all about the hobby, and I think everyone came together on Saturday, and it was really good to I know it's only a short space since the last show. It's been what 2 months. But to see everyone again and to get back down there and to catch up with everyone was really good. And as I said, you can't really expect anything less than for it to be really busy on the Saturday, given what the London Card Show is like. It's one of the biggest shows in the UK/Europe. So it's always gonna be very popular. But yeah, very busy on the Saturday. And I said a little bit quieter today, but a lot of good deals done today, to be fair, from what I was speaking to a couple of the vendors. Some very good deals done today. I know there were some big deals done on the Saturday. I know obviously One of One Sports and South Jersey, the big old trade at his table. But all in all, I thought it was a really good weekend again. Yes, every weekend every show, sorry, you're gonna find some, touch up points. You're gonna find some little flaws, and you're trying to adjust, and that's natural in growing a business. So, but for me, yeah, really enjoyed the weekend. Really, really good. Really, really busy. Good energy, and yeah, it was great to catch up with a lot of the guys that we talk to on a regular basis.
Yeah, I think obviously this was the first time for me being at the Saturday of the upstairs venue, and there's quite a lot of similarities, I would say, between the Saturdays downstairs and upstairs. Of the case of at points, especially on the Saturday, because I can't speak for personal aspect for Sunday, was because there's not much gap in between the tables in terms of like the islands and the outside ones. That some areas become very heavily populated, and it was very hard to move her around. So, but that's one of them that there is restrictions with the venue in terms of the size long ways that you have to kind of get these 200 odd tables in. But obviously, it would be a nicer a bit more because it seemed that sometimes, I don't know if you had this experience, that you was kind of trying to look at a table, whether it was a flick through or just like someone's case, and you'd either have someone elbowing you in the back like they're going up for a header at a corner, or pushing in front of you to try and see something. And I'm like, come on, I was like, you don't really want to say something, but then you're just like really, what's going on? But I think that partly comes down to because it's just so packed them bits that it doesn't help as well when you got people with the big backpacks on. It's the same. I have this pet peeve on the train as well. It's when it's mobbed and someone's got a backpack, which is like they're carrying a tent up Mount Everest. So I don't know if you found the same thing. That obviously there's restrictions of the venue, but I would like it maybe a bit more. I don't know how they'll do it. And obviously, Harry and the team, no doubt, would probably have similar ideas on it. But like there needs to be that little bit more room in between that it makes it a bit easier to move around. Because I know at one point we was in the top corner near MGC, and we needed to buy you your 15th slab mag of the show. And we literally looked down. It was literally it was a straight line to get to third down. And we just looked and we looked at each other and we was like, yeah, that's not going to be easy. So you have to kind of snake in and out around certain tables. But I think that's one of my main concerns. Obviously, we're going to talk about a few more in here about pricing and a few other bits like that. But there's some locations that you need a bit more space in between. Just say there's a bit more air, and also the people can actually get past.
Yeah, definitely. I do agree with you. I think, there was some points you said were a bit of argy-bargy where you come to get a shove in the back or an elbow to the face or, I mean, not literally, but you know what I mean? There's a bit of argy-bargy going on here and there. But it's one of them things where, Harry obviously lowered the number of tickets available on a Saturday to try and mitigate that. But I guess, where you got that many tables in there and you got to try and make the walkways wide enough, you're never going to make enough room for people to walk around freely. It's never going to happen. But I think, maybe potentially to have a bit more space in between tables for people to walk through would definitely probably be a good idea for the next show. Because like I said, I mean, we looked down and thought we got to snake through all these different tables to try and get to where we wanted to go because it was just rammed the whole way down. But again, you're looking at the plus side, it's a good thing. Obviously, it's very popular. People want to be there. So it's a sellout show. But on the flip side, you said you are trying to fight a losing battle and trying to get around people and maneuver your way around. So yeah, there's pros and cons for it. Obviously, the pros obviously are being, that it's popular and so it's a busy show, but the cons are that you are having to snake a lot of the times, try and maneuver in and out of people. And as I said, when people are carrying card cases or prams or backpacks or anything like that, it's a tough move to try and get around people. But it all comes to communication, doesn't it? It doesn't take someone to say, excuse me, or, can I squeeze past free there, mate, or whatever. But yeah, that's the only thing in terms of the overall experience, just to make either the table layout a little bit different, just to make sure it's a bit easier for people to maneuver around. Because yeah, it did seem quite a tight squeeze at times.
Yeah, and I think another one, obviously, was saying about layouts and stuff like that. It's probably one of the most no doubt the team and the venue spoke to each other to optimize like the layout. There's been a lot of criticism of I partly agree and I don't agree. There's one that's saying it should be sports only or like a sports show and then a TCG. So I don't agree necessarily to that because there's some people like, don't get me wrong, there's most people either collect TCG or they collect sports, but there's some people who do collect both. But I kind of would like it, I think, if there was like not designated area that you're literally segregating half and half. I don't think that's fair, but like the island system that is in operation, especially like down the right hand side, maybe it could even be a case of you have like a TCG and then a sports and that you kind of know that you can go around a full circle and it's all sports, and then the next one is all Pokemon, and then like that. Obviously, it's no doubt like again, it's something that we'll pass on anything that we think to the team, and no doubt we've asked people on our story as well for their opinions, and we'll briefly discuss some of them as well. And anything we say, we'll try and pass on the team to see what they would say about it, or even you never know, it could be put into use for the upcoming shows. But would you like to kind of see not a completely segregation, but maybe like a little pattern that there's like a TCG island and a sports island? Because I remember one of the last shows downstairs, I don't know if it was on purpose or by accident, there was kind of a bit of a pattern there that there was quite a lot of TCG next to each other, and then you'd have a whole island of sport. And it kind of worked well. Obviously, that was the downstairs one that was kind of a big square, and then you had like 6 islands in the middle. But there was kind of a theme. So would you kind of go for that kind of thing rather than the segregation approach?
Yeah, I think the segregation approach is probably going to be a little bit not impossible, but it's not going to be easy. So I think potentially in terms of the actual layout, if you were to go island by island, in terms of, like you said, you group all TCG on one island, sports on another island, and then TCG on the next island, or however you want to lay it out. I think completely segregating half the hall or one side of the hall to be TCG or sports probably isn't going to work in terms of footfall and the flow of traffic. But I think if you were to put island by island, potentially grouping together TCG and sports, will make it a bit easier for people to suss out. And I know obviously the floor plan gets released, and you got the table numbers and who's on what table, so you can almost make out who you want to go to. But yeah, I think having island by island in terms of TCG and sports would probably be the next best approach in terms of seeing how it goes. Just so everyone's grouped together, because you could have walked from a Pokemon to a sports to an NBA to Funko Pop back to sport. So yeah, I think to group them on island together would probably be the most beneficial as the next step.
Yeah.
But as I said, it's a card hobby. It's not just predominantly about sports as much as we only collect sports.
Yeah.
Like I said, you're never going to please everyone, and I guess we understand that. But there's probably sort of ways you can go around it potentially to see trial and error. Do you know what I mean? If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You've tried it, and you come up with the next idea. But then that's for me probably the next best point of protocol is to maybe group them all together on different islands.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've openly said this on the podcast before, that I have no interest in TCG. All right, if people want to count the new Disney cards as TCG, fair enough, because I actually quite like looking at them and they're quite nice cards to collect. But I still like having a look at Pokemon cards on the day, because I have no idea what I'm looking at. And honestly, they could have 2 slabs next to each other. One could be a 10 or one could be 50 grand. I would not know the difference. But it's sometimes nice to have a look at some of the others, especially I walked past one store, I don't know who it was, but they had all sealed boxes of like all the old edition Pokemon. I was like, that's quite cool to look at, to see some of these boxes were like 5 to 10 grand. And I'm like, that's quite cool to see. And then obviously there was another one which was full of loads of Funko Pops. Like, again, I've got a couple of them, but it was quite cool to see something different. But I think the next one we've had quite a lot of people message into the podcast with was about actual some of the dealers and some of the pricing. And I think it's a very tricky, controversial, and just a hard generic topic, because as a buyer, you're going to have a certain perspective on pricing. As a seller, you're going to. So naturally, if you're buying something, you want it for the cheapest price possible. And if you're selling it, you want it for the most expensive price possible, which is natural in the world. If I had a random card, say I had one of the cards I bought yesterday, a Blue Shimmer Gabrielle, I'm going to say I want it for a tenner, even though I know it's not worth that. But you look at the comps and you roughly work it out, or just on knowledge. Obviously, I see one for 30 quid in China, but I knew obviously it would be worth more in Europe. But lucky enough, the dealer said, look, I'll just go on whatever comps, because that's probably where he got it. But higher end stuff as well, it's very hard to comp a card and a price. Especially some dealers have certain cards that they don't really want to sell, so there's a bit more on it. It's a very hard topic, and like we say, there was a few cards that we see that there was a higher price on it. But at the end of the day, all you've got to do is go up to the dealer and say, look, what's your best price on it? If they say it's too high, you just say, yeah, no worries, thank you very much, this is my offer. If they say no, they say no. I don't know if you found that I kind of felt it was quite a split between some things were overpriced and a lot of things were very well priced. And then there was a few in the middle, but one of them was either raw, really.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think there was a couple of tables that I think, even we walked up to, and there were certain cards that were, I think there was one that I saw that was about £300-400 over the last comp. And you just think, I know some vendors will say these are priced from the last show. I haven't changed the prices. Like, I'm happy to look at comps, whatever. Cool. You're honest and you're open about it. But some people will stick firm on that. And you think you've priced that £300 over the last comp, the exact same card with the exact same grade. I think, some things for me as well, like, if cards aren't priced, like, it's one of them things, each their own. This is not a dig or not a point finger, but I guess, as a buyer, if you're walking up to a table and there's not a single price on any card, you think, well, what? Like, where are you at on the price? Most vendors will have a list on their phone of what the prices are. Cool, sweet, we go from there. But yeah, there was a mix. A lot of vendors were quite very good priced, happy to negotiate, happy to come to a deal. Cool. A couple of vendors were hot on the price, no room to move, but it's like double comps, and you're like, okay, suit yourself, fine. But yeah, it was a real mixed bunch. A couple of cards that we picked up, with good buys, good deals, good negotiations, and walked away both of us happy. So, but yeah, I think that's probably one thing for me. Was a couple of tables where I went up to and there's nothing's priced. You're like, if you've got a price list on your phone, cool, sweet. But when nobody's got any prices ready at all, you think, right, okay, well, where do we go from here then? Like, we'll check comps. But, I said, this is not a dig. It's not a point finger. It's just an observation where it's like, for a buyer, it's easy to walk up there and see a price here on the slab or the card and you think, cool, right, prices are ready. But yeah, as I said, there was a couple of prices that were extortionately high above the last comp. But he said it's to be expected. And if it's one of your PC or one of the cards you're not particularly desperate to move, then so be it.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, my biggest recommendation for anyone in the hobby, from personal experience now, I think it's been 5 London card show. I think I've been to roughly around that one, 6, 7 shows all in all, including others, is just speak to the vendors. Because I've always been a personal fan of just getting to know the vendor anyway, because you actually end up talking to them. Obviously, a lot of time you end up just talking to them a lot, and then you keep in contact. And then, obviously, I think it's whenever it's a deal. I had a few deals there. Obviously, I've quite good friends with some of the vendors, which is always helpful that they know if you PC it, they'll give you a bit of a better price. But then, I'm the same. I'm like, I don't want to discount it too much. I want a fair price. And they go, yeah, fine. So just have a talk with vendors. Like, at the end of the day, the worst, as I try and say, I know it's obviously easier said than done, but the worst thing anyone can ever say is no. So obviously, don't go in and don't be. I'm not going to say like who I was actually with at the time, but I was walking around and I think I see a card listed for about £800, I think it was, which I think the card was actually priced below comp. So, and the guy went up to him and said, "I'll give you 200," and I was like, "Not why would anyone accept the deal with 25% comps?" Like, even people like in the States, obviously, a lot of the big guys that people watch, like Ryan Card Collector 2, Mojo, or Sunday League Investors, Drawer, anyone like that, they still, for a good deal, they aim for 60 to 70% of comps, depending on the item, or even 70 to 80% of comps. I've never seen anyone ask for 25% of comps. So that was that weird one that I see. I kind of looked at it and I was just like, that's quite an interesting offer that no one's ever going to accept ever. But moving on to the next one, obviously, we've got 4 different people who actually respond with the same thing of there was too much TCG. And I don't know the exact numbers, but I would say if we take an example, there's say 200 tables on the Saturday. There was slightly more this time, I think, split between TCG and sport. Say if it was like 130 to 70 or 125 to whatever it will work out, 125 to 75. How would so it's probably not even that, because obviously you've got the likes of the Grading Club, Third Down Collectibles, who are neither or. So probably say 160 overall, it might be like a 90-70 split, or probably a bit more in favor of TCG. But how would you restrict the certain levels? So say, for example, when obviously it's going to be quite hard when the ticket's going sale, because if someone clicks sports, TCG, I don't know how that will work, but would you like to kind of see an equal balance in between TCG and sports, and then obviously have the other section as well for the box sellers or people who sell multiple different things?
Yeah, I think if you're trying to knock out this stigma around it being heavily TCG, that's going to be the easiest way forward, is to try and almost separate the tables out and to have TCG tables and sports tables and have it as an even number of tables. Obviously, yeah, for us, it'd be great to see some more sports tables there next time around, also given the fact that it's what we collect. Not going to try and sugarcoat it. It was heavily TCG this weekend. Not to a point where it was like there was hardly any sports tables, but as you said, it's probably around, 60-40 in terms of, I got the ratio right this time, 60-40 in terms of obviously your sports to TCG, if not maybe a little bit more TCG.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's probably going to be the quickest and easiest way going forward, is to potentially spread out the tables in terms of you sell half TCG, half sports on the website, and you buy the specific table for TCG or sports. That way you've got half and half split. There you go. There's no questions asked. So that to me seems the next logical step in terms of, I guess, knocking out that stigma around it being heavily TCG. And then, like we said, the way you do the floor plan is, one thing or another. But to have it so you've got a 50-50 split TCG to sports is the next, I think, important step for Harry and the team.
Yeah, like I say, it's I would not have a clue where to start at all, and no doubt, knowing Harry personally, me and Harry and Harry know each other very well, but it's fucking awkward when you always have to say Harry and Harry in a different cut set. But I know that the team always want to try and put the best show on possible, and no doubt that they'll be listening to the advice, the feedback, and the criticism, and the positives, and try and put on the best show possible when the next one rolls around. But we move on slightly now, and the next one is like, is there anything we would obviously say, for example, in Ideal World, we was the one who set up the London Card Show, for example. Is there anything that you would like to see different for the future, or any ideas? Obviously, we've covered a few there, like split an equal amount between TCG and sport, like maybe the prices. But is there anything else that you would kind of change at all, or would like to see down the line?
I think in terms of what I changed, I think we probably discussed the main points that we try and change. I mean, for me, down the line, I'd love to see on-site grading, potentially on a bigger scale when the time becomes right. But I think at the moment, everything I would have changed, we've discussed already. That's what we've gone through. So for me, there's probably not much else that I would change in terms of, like I said, further down the line when it's more scalable, that or in terms of it's more feasible, should I say, that they introduce potentially on-site grading with whatever grading company that is. But otherwise, yeah, I think that we'll just pretty much discuss the main points that I would have changed. I know about yourself, but for me, they're probably the main bits.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would like to see is when I do see a lot of vlogs and videos from the American shows. I know obviously a lot of them are quite considerably more about football and stuff like that, but maybe some more interactive things, maybe some games or something like that. I would say Top's done quite. I walked past the Top stage a couple of times when they had activities on. It was quite good for, like, I would say, like the younger audience, like the kids. But maybe having some bits on for the older audience would be quite cool. Maybe some interviews, maybe something like that would be quite cool. Or even I've seen like quite a bit of Whatnot in the States where they have like competitions, and I know they had like the round, like the spin wheel kind of thing where you could win prizes, but they do some quite interesting ones over in the States. There's, I think, from the Mint Collective recently in Vegas, they had like a hanging bar, and if you hung on it from 0 to a minute, you got a free pack. A minute to minute 59 was a free blaster, and then 2 minutes on was it's a hobby box.
Yeah.
Something like that, obviously, it'd be quite cool. Obviously, that's probably a thing further down the line when there's a maybe like a bigger, more exhibition type of centre or hall. But maybe stuff like that, a bit more interactive. Hopefully, like you say, obviously PSLs. I'm looking at the actual ticket at the moment that we have for this weekend with the different sponsors. Hopefully, see maybe some of them getting a bit more involved. Obviously, same to see no PSA representatives there, even just to talk to would have been quite nice. But yeah, like maybe something a bit more interactive. Obviously, I think that's maybe one aspect that they do quite well in the States is bringing people over into different areas and just having stuff to do like quizzes, competitions, stuff like that would be quite cool. Obviously, I know they done Tops had the raffle giving away the free bottle. Yeah, otherwise, I think Whatnot had the spin wheel, and that was kind of about it. I think there was a couple of other competitions going on.
Yeah, I think eBay had the prize call, didn't they, as well?
Yep. So it's just maybe something along the line, so maybe a bit more interactive to do. Could be quite cool to see. Definitely not become a jockey and rush round Sandown Racecourse for a free hobby box would not be a good idea. But no, definitely, I think, like we said, I think it's going to be quite an interesting one. Moving on to the show in 3 months now. Obviously, it's a longer gap. We only had 2 months between the February and April show. Now the next one is obviously coming up in 3 months' time, which should be quite interesting to see the ideas, what go into play, the feedback if it goes into action, and no doubt if we can, we'll try and get a comment from Harry and the team just to see what they think of the show, and we'll bring that to you in the next couple of episodes. And also, no doubt when we build up to the next London Card Show in about 12 episodes time, there'll be another London Card Show special, and definitely we'll be trying to get more people on who attended the shows and stuff like that. But moving on to our actual personal experience of that show and what we picked up, because it's actually quite, even though it was kind of a hit, not a hit and a miss type of show in terms of everything, it was actually quite a good pickup show. I'd arguably say this was my 5th London Card Show and my best in terms of pickups, which is quite strange. Thinking because we're currently top of the league, not for much longer in my personal opinion, but we are top of the league. I was expecting, bloody these are, if there's any Arsenal cards, they're going to be 400% more than what they should be. And normally, I think the last card show, I probably walked home with, I'm not kidding, I think I only had about 5 cards, all in all. And I think out of those 5, I think 2 were in an Arsenal shirt. This time, all of it bar 1 card and some Disney ones were Arsenal. So if we start, obviously, I'm not going to say the order we picked them up in because I barely remember anything about yesterday. But obviously, my first lot of pickups today, I would show them here, but they are all over there and I'm not getting them. So I will have a video up some point, or if I do remember in the edit, I might put a little picture up. But if not, I'll be having a video up on my YouTube channel of all the pickups. But my first pickup, I headed over to the guys at Trade Week Cards, because always know they have a good flick through selection and also some higher end stuff as well. So I thought I'd have a little look through the flick through. And I was going through it was £1, £3, £5. So I went through the £1. So nothing really tickled my fancy there. £3, there was some Arsenal bits in there, but I didn't make a play on any Arsenal stuff. I picked up some of the base cards from the Disney 100 set, which me and Harry did speak about this before en route to the show and in a few episodes ago, but I was looking forward to the show to actually see him in person. So I thought, no disrespect to the company, I thought, these are going to be quite, but not knockoff, but quite thin. But that the quality is fantastic. I've actually got to say that the quality of them are better than some of the Topps and Panini cards I own. So very surprised with that. I picked up some of my favourite characters from Toy Story, Alien especially, as my favourite Toy Story character, Mike Wazowski, Ham, Mr. Potato Head, and Rex. So that was good to see. And as I was thinking through that, there was a Donald Duck, which I didn't purchase, but I did hide halfway through one of the boxes, which is now on the other side of the screen, which, funny enough, might not have been in the possession of HJA if I didn't hide it, because someone 2 minutes later come through and bought the rest. So, and then the other pickup from Trade Week for me was an Aaron Ramsdale jersey card from the latest Donald Ross. So how does it feel that you finally picked up a nice little Disney card?
Yeah, I was buzzing, to be fair, to pick it up. I know we saw it when we were going through the flick through boxes. And I was like, we've only been here 10 minutes. Like, I'll put it back and we'll see. And you're like, I'll hide it for you. And I was like, all right, yeah, good shout. We must have gone back there about 40 minutes later back to Trade Wii, and they're literally wiped out of their flick through box. I'm thinking, oh my God, that's sold. And I was flicking through the £5 one. I was thinking, it's not in here, and you literally pulled it straight out. So I was like, right, I'm buying it now before it goes. So yeah, Donald Duck is the base from the Disney Caca Wow. So, and now that was a card I said, obviously, when we went for the checklist on here, that was the first card I wanted to get. So yeah, was buzzing to pick that up finally.
I was going to say, it's quite funny. When we done that episode, we literally said, my number one I want to pick up is Alien, and you said your one was Donald Duck. So it was good to actually pick up the 2 cards that we did want. And actually see a fair bit of Disney, actually. I know one of the stalls, a guy called Sickball FC, had some of the gold final or whatever they called them, like really short, and they were magnificent. I think they're the ones that were, like, super, super rare. I think they're like equivalent to 5 or 10, so they was worth serious money, but they're really good to see. He had a full set of the base as well, so it was quite nice to flick through that as well. But obviously, that moving aside from Disney, mainly because obviously our main PCs are Arsenal, and it was actually quite a successful show for picking up Arsenal cards as well. And I know, obviously, people who do listen to the podcast regularly or follow HCA on Instagram realise it does buy a lot of graded cards. So how did you get on picking up, and did you pick up any graded items?
Yeah, so I actually picked up 3 graded cards. Like I said, I think similar to you, probably one of my best shows in terms of pickups. So the first one, I got 2, both from 2021-22 Mosaic. So I picked this one up on Saturday, which obviously is the red and gold's Aaron Ramsdale, which is numbered to 88 in a PSA 10. Got that from Martin over at Card Sales. Red and gold choice, numbered to 88. So saw that first one. I was like, you know what? Like, I've been looking to pick up a Ramsdale. I got his auto from Mosaic. And I was like, no, in a PSA 10, I was like, you can't really argue with that. So I picked that up from card sales. And then today, I walked back over to Growled by Gus and his table. And he had two full cases full of new stock he picked up from Aaron this morning at the Grading Club. So I actually picked up this Kieran Tierney PSA 10 of the Peacock, which I believe is SSP.
Yeah.
Ronnie, correct me if I'm wrong.
No.
But no, yes, SSP, yeah, PSA 10 with the Peacock. So yeah, I was quite happy with those, to be fair. Two pickups, obviously, from both from Mosaic, both PSA 10s. I guess, both to a degree, short print, SSP and obviously SP. So yeah, I think I picked up both of those. And then on the graded scheme, I actually went ahead and picked up this 2021-22 Obsidian Emil Smith Rowe Red Pulsar, which is numbered to 26. Got this from BB Cards Ben. Obviously, I had to go and pick up the black slab mag to match the Obsidian. As I said, yeah, number 26. The reds with the black as well, obviously with the red color match to Arsenal. PSA 8. But yeah, I was buzzing to get that. I saw it and I was like, you know what, that's a pretty nice color match. I know he had the Martinelli as well in a 10. But I was like, you know what, ESR is going to come back fighting sooner rather than later. So thought I'd get the black slab mag to match with that. So yeah, those are the three graded cards that I picked up this weekend. Actually, I did, for a change, I should pick up some Raw as well.
I was going to say, before I move on to my graded pickups, you did just say you picked up a black slab bag, and I did refer to it earlier that you picked up a few. How many slab bags did you actually walk away from the show with?
I'm sure the boys at Third Down listen to this and they're going to be laughing their heads off. So I bought three. And then we were sat at a pub on Saturday night and it popped up on my phone saying Third Down mentioned you in a reel. And I've won the giveaway for a free slab mag as well they did for the card show. So I actually walked away with four. Today. Obviously 3 that I bought and 1 that I won in the giveaway for free. So I actually got it here. The free one I got, I actually picked up an orange to match my Pierre Gasly to 25. Obviously the orange wave refractor, obviously with the orange slab mag as well. So it's quite a nice color match on that one, to be fair. So I was like, you know what, that orange match is hard. So yeah, got that one for the Gasly, and obviously yeah, I bought 3. I got 2 other red ones, obviously to match the Arsenal PC as well. So yeah, I walked away with 4. So Third, and if you're listening, thanks, boys.
Yeah, they'll definitely be thanking you because they'll be sitting there with a nice glass or something paid by you entirely.
I was them at a pub last night, mate. I don't know about today.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually picked up 2 graded items myself. I'm not normally the biggest picker up of graded cards, but obviously
pick her up.
Moving on now, I want to pick up some more grade stuff / grade my own stuff because I've got quite a nice few bits that need encapsulating. But I found a fine gentleman over at one of the tables nearer the other side, nearer the doors towards the food area. His name was Jod Collects, and he noticed me because I was walking past it, and I originally noticed a Dennis Bergkamp PSA 3 sticker from 1992, I believe it was, and then that kind of drew me in because I was like, oh, that's a Bergkamp there, and then I was slowly looking through it. He had a orange wave to 25 Beth Mead, which I was very tempted on, but the price was fair. I'm not saying it was too much. The price was fair. Just it was over my budget for that time. He then had next to the Beth Mead a Viviana Miedemar PSA 9 refractor listed at £20. And then I looked at the other side, and I know the player's out of favour at Arsenal at the moment. It's a really nice card. I really do like the player, and the card is aesthetically very pleasing. It was a cracked ice to 23 from Chronicles Albert Sambula-Conga rookie Prism PSA 9. And it was 50 on label and managed to get a deal at 35, which was very, very nice of him to do such a good deal on them 2 items. Obviously, Viviana Miedemar, one of the best women's players in world football, obviously sadly injured at the moment, and Sam Lukonga out on loan and be interested with him, but picked up 2 very nice ones. I think, especially just like the Pierre Gasly that H just had on screen there for people who are watching along, obviously people not listening, the orange is such a nice colour scheme that the cracked ice is actually orange within the Chronicles, and I think it was just a fantastic card to pick up, and it's one you don't really see much, and I don't think it'll be graded that much. I actually haven't seen it raw, so was very happy to pick that one up. And obviously, like you said, you did pick up some raw items as well, which is always quite nice. And I think obviously for you, obviously you'll be looking at grading some of them now. But what raw items did you actually pick up?
So to be fair, yesterday Harry came up to me and said, "Listen, I've got a Pierre Gasly 2021 portrait green sapphire 75. He went, let's flip a coin. He went, you win, you can have it. He went, I win, you give me a tenner." So I was like, all right, cool, sweet. So I've gone tails never fails, and obviously, yeah, tails it was. So yeah, walked away with like a nice green sapphire Gasly to 75 portrait from a 2021 Chrome. So that was quite nice to add to the Gasly PC. So yeah, thanks Harry for losing the coin toss. And then also our good friend LGL Breaks actually come up to me after I bought that Smith Rowe Obsidian Red Pulsar and actually handed me the Smith Rowe to 105 from Obsidian. So it's looking like I might end up having to start something with Rainbow because I know what you're about to show. Yep. So you've got the to blue to 30. So yeah, might have to start a potential Rainbow of the Obsidian Smith Rowe until he gets to the 1 of 1, and then I'll bail out. No, my luck. I also picked up this. I've actually been looking for one of these for a while. I know the redemptions have recently fulfilled. It is the impeccable Serge Gnabry auto, which is numbered to 35. And I believe it's from the Asia Team with the red sort of bordering. But yeah, I've been looking for one of his cards since the redemptions got fulfilled. So yeah, Panini Collector did me a good deal on that. So shout out to him. But yeah, the Serge Gnabry impeccable auto numbered to 35. So I was pleased to finally get that one into the PC. And then finally, we did a little trade night deal. Never really got the guy's name, but he had a load of Arsenal stuff. He PC'd Arsenal. I mean, he had the Emirates Stadium Blue Shimmer to 8, BGS 9.5. He had an impeccable trio, Perez, Omri, Bergkamp. It was just ridiculous, his case. And actually, he had a lot of the Tigers from this year's Prism. So I actually went and picked up the Emil Smith Rowe. Got a theme going on here with Smith Rowe. But I bought the Fabio Vieira one recently and then saw the Smith Rowe. And I was like, you know what? I got to pick that one up as well. So yeah, picked up the Smith Rowe Tiger Prism. I think he also had Xhaka, Jesus, Saliba, I think Zinchenko, maybe. But yeah, there was a lot of Tiger Prisms he had there. So but yeah, they were the 4 raw cards that I picked up.
Yeah, so funny enough, going along the Tiger theme, I picked up a Aaron Ramsdale Tiger. I think a player that I wanted to get more cards of. Obviously he's had a few mistakes this season, but on the other hand as well as single-handedly won us or kept us in games as well. So I was very happy to pick up the Tiger print of his. And then funny enough, you saying there about Panini Collector was sitting with him for a bit when I couldn't be bothered to stand up no more, which was a bit unfortunate because I ended up just looking for a load of Arsenal cards. But the needle and haystack of trying to find some Granit Xhakas. And it was actually quite funny because I think a lot of people would agree that the 2019-2020 Prism is one of the best ones. In my personal opinion, I think it is the best Prism. It's my favourite Prism. Obviously, it's a shame that some of my other PC players that I collect are not in that one, but one and obviously the main guy that everyone knows who I collect is Granit Xhaka. Managed to pick up his high property collector, but also then I picked up a Rob Holding from Breakaway to 75, which was really nice because you don't really see that much often. And then also next to it was a bronze or copper, I think it's actually called copper, actually to 20. And so that was a really nice one. And I know you just mentioned the man himself, LGL. We were standing outside talking with El Toro Jason, I think it was Miles, and I think it was a couple of others maybe. And then he come up to me and said, I found you a Xhaka. And I was like, yeah, all right, mate. You found a Xhaka. No one finds Xhakas at London Card Show. But I think I found one in the private 4 shows. And he actually come up to me with a red and white Granit Xhaka, which is a lovely card. I'm going to look over the condition wise. So I think it would look very nice graded. But then I do say that with the other 58 Xhakas I do have in my collection. But that was a massive thank you to him because that was a lovely one. I don't have in the PC and I need to pick up more of that Prism. And then Trade Night was a very interesting one because I was sitting there with El Toro and I get a little tap on the shoulder when H comes back and says, oh, you've got to come and see this store. I was thinking, here we go. What's this? It's going to be like some one of one thing that's out of my budget. And then it was obviously the same gentleman that you said before that had the few different Tiger prints from this year's Prism and some of the old stuff. And he had a lovely few Xhakas that I probably would have played on if I had a bigger budget. He had a first off the line Blue Shimmer to 8, Blue Mojo to 25, and the Tiger print. And then just below that, he had a few of the autos. I think he had a gold choice of Takehiro Tomiyasu, and then he had the Blue Shimmer auto of Gabriel. And obviously, people listening on this don't know my main 2 Arsenal players that take this Gabriel and in Xhaka. So I thought, it'd be interesting to see the price, but I was thinking it's probably going to be a bit higher for me. I was expecting the £60 to £70 mark. And he said, look at the comps, not just east of the world. and west of the world. So if people know what they mean, we know what I mean. But when we talk about comps, it's not just one side of the world. So managed to find one comp, and I think it was around the $34 mark. And he said, "Look, I'll do comps on it." And so I said, "I think the comp did at about £28." I said, "I'll give you 30." And he said, "Yeah." So very happy to pick that up. And it's a beautiful card as well. So yeah. And then funny enough, Jason tapped me on the shoulder halfway through trade night, and he went, "I've just found these two cards for you." And obviously, we talked about choice from this year's Prism. Obviously, the non-numbered so-called base of choice is the blue-yellow. I think it's blue, yellow, green, or just blue and yellow, or however they call it. But he actually managed to pick up for me as Jacques and Gabriel, which both of us I didn't have either of them. And I think choice is one of them that, don't get me wrong, I really do love hobby and the clean colours of the block colours. But choice, I know H will agree with me on this one, that it's just, it pops really nice, like the Tigers. You've got the blue shimmer, blue shimmers first off the line, but then you've got the blue greens, you've got the red blues to 15s, you've got the green scope, which is to 5 this year. So you've got quite a few, and then you've got the red scope, I believe, to 30, I believe it is. So that was really good to see. And then last but not least, for trade night, I traded a couple of cards actually with El Toro. So I actually traded at trade night, which was actually a first for me. He found a Viviana Miedemar from the new Merlin to 99, and I had a Jude Bellingham living set PSA 9 slab, and I traded him that. And then as the sweeten the deal as well, he actually threw in a Cosmic Ebereche Eze to 25. I know people say, like, why are you collecting him? He's not nice, but I just really like him as a player, and I thought it'd be nice to throw in the deal. So I think it was actually quite a successful 2 days, obviously for yourself, or day for me. But I know obviously it's hard to say like cards you missed out on or you see. Was there anything you looked at or see that you kind of wish you picked up or think, oh, I wouldn't mind having that in my PC?
I mean, yeah, half that guy's case who had all the Tiger Prisms. I mean, he had so many low-numbered Arsenal cards from the new Prism, all the Tiger prints. So, I mean, yeah, if I went there with an endless pit of money, I'd have bought him out of house and home. But I know also BB Cards Ben had a really nice Smith Rowe Bronze Breakaway PSA 10. That would have been quite nice. He also said he had the Martinelli Red Pulsar PSA 10. I mean, Gus had a Saka auto from Chronicles PSA 10, which is really nice. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of cards where, you know, if I went there with a bit more of a budget, I could have picked up a load of nice stuff to add to the PC. But I think, yeah, for me, probably a couple of the Tiger Prints or the Bronze Breakaway of Smith Rowe. I think I'd like to have added to the PC. But, you know, there's always next time. I know I've got BB Cards Ben on Instagram. So potentially a later date. But yeah, I think they're probably the main ones that I'd say that I'd look back on and think, maybe should have at least inquired about them.
Yeah, I think there was one main one for me, really. Obviously, I did just mention the Jackers, but it was actually from the main show. There was a Kieran Tierney booklet from Immaculate. It was one of the ones with the acetate auto on the left-hand side, a piece of the patch, and it was part of his name. I think maybe the K or it might have been the actual N. I think it was the N because it looked like a bit of a joint, which was a lovely one. I think he had 130 on it, which when I looked at comps, it was probably about £20-30 under comps anyway, which was a very good deal. But it was one of them that I ended up picking all of the stuff up. I got the weekend for the same price as it would have been for that one booklet. So it's one of them that I do want to get an Arsenal booklet in the PC, but with Kieran Tierney, it's a very hit and miss point at the moment, especially with his cards of will he move, will he not move. So I didn't make a deal on that one, but I bought the Ramsdale Tiger Prism off him. So done very well. But overall, I think it was a very successful show in terms of actual pickups where you can either, it depends on what you're looking at. I think from an Arsenal perspective, there was quite a lot there, which was rather different because
Yeah.
sometimes you don't really get much. A lot of times you get quite a lot of other teams, which is natural because, like, for most top products, Arsenal are not in it. So up until this year, obviously, we're part Europa League, but then unless of the biggest collapse in the history of football, we'll be making a return to Champions League product next year, which everyone will be opening up their wallet for because that's going to be very expensive when the likes of Saka, Odegaard will be getting their first Arsenal Chrome, Sapphires, and then likes of other cards which are Champions League only, like your Inceptions and stuff like that. But overall, have you got any closing statements regarding the card show and just the overall experience? Because obviously, as well, I'd just like to touch on it. It was really nice. I had quite a few people come up to us as well saying, really enjoyed the podcast. And I think that's it really makes the day, really. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's really nice because you talk to someone and then you're like, oh, I love the podcast, and it makes you actually realize why you do it. It's for the hobby at the end of the day, and it was really nice to talk to a lot of people, and there was quite a few people that we didn't really get to speak to as much as I wanted to, but don't we'll definitely be reaching out, and like we say, we're going to try and get more people from the hobby on the podcast this year. So likewise, if anyone's listening to this and does want to get on the podcast, definitely reach out, and we'll compare like see our schedules, how it works, and definitely try and accommodate people within the UK. But yeah, your closing notes on the overall experience, the weekend, and the card shows general.
Yeah, no, like you said, I think, it was really good to sort of speak to a lot of people today in terms of over the weekend that who normally catch up with in general. Was great to, catch up with everyone and meet some new faces as well. As I said, it was great to hear about some of the people's thoughts on the podcast and listen to it. And, my maths in particular was a good talking point. But I think, a massive thank you to Harry and obviously and the team again for another fantastic weekend. And a thank you to everyone, obviously, for 10K listens as well. It's been a pretty good weekend overall. That topping off with a little cherry on the top. But like I said, can't thank everyone enough for the constant support. Like I said, thank you to everyone for stopping by for a catch up today and yesterday. And yeah, looking forward to catching up with everyone again in August. Or if you are going to Germany next month, I will see you out there.
Yeah, no, definitely. I echo them statements. Like I say, I'm really looking forward to seeing the next show and what changes and like what feedback they listen to. And I think that's the most important thing of things will fail, some things will be very well. So just hopefully the two take some things on board. And like I say, it'll be another good show in August. And hopefully it's not like last July's show and it's about 33 degrees and absolutely sweltering. But I think that room has got aircon, thankfully. So like we say, it might be a bit hot at that show, but no, very good weekend. Always, as I say, that it's not the cars that make the hobby; it's the people, and I think that's the main thing. Is just getting to see everyone again. And like I say, there's sadly couldn't speak to everyone, but no doubt we'll be catching up very soon. Hopefully, we're seeing some other shows that are popping up. Obviously, like I say, Harry is going to the German show next month, which is at the not the Nurb, at Hockenheim.
Hockenheim.
Yeah, so he's going to Hockenheim, and I know obviously there is a Scotland show coming up soon that I think it's sold out, but I might try and get up there for, but I'm not too sure at the moment, depending on schedule. And then obviously it goes back into London Card Show, South Coast Show, Northwest Card Show. There'll be a lot more others popping up. So we hopefully try and get to a few more. I know me and Harry have spoken a few times about making a weekend of it and trying to get to other ones. But like we say, as we said, a perfect way to close it is how we ended it. Started it with thank you everyone so much for listening yet again. Thank you everything for getting us to this 10K mark. Obviously, this is episode 60. The road to 25K listens is now on, and also the road to 100 episodes. So, like we say, we're going to be trying to get some really good guests lined up for you. We've got a few in the works that we're really trying hard to work on. And like I say, if there's ever anyone you'd like to hear on the podcast, always just feel free to either message the Top Loaded podcast on Instagram or one of our private channels, that's RP Trading Cards or HA Cards UK on Instagram. But most importantly, if you're listening along on YouTube, please drop a subscribe, like, comment of what you thought about London Card Show. Hit the subscribe on Spotify because we've been blessed with Spotify, especially at the moment. We're doing very well with the followers on there. So, as we say, thank you ever so much for joining. I hope everyone out there who did attend the London Card Show had a very good experience, picked up a load of nice cards, and just had a very good experience. But until next Tuesday, we thank you, everyone out there, for listening. Please stay safe, keep buying, selling, trading, but most importantly, happy hobbying and good night.